Welcome into a special post-game edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. I'm Kyle Glaser going solo tonight as we wrap up the Padres 7-4 victory over the San Francisco Giants. A big win against the division leader at home to snap a 4-game losing streak. This was a big night for the Padres. Luis Arraez and Jason Heyward returned from their respective injuries. Arraez from his concussion after his very scary collision in Houston. Heyward from his knee inflammation that had sidelined him since the Houston series as well. And having them back just completely changed the entire dynamic of the Padres offense. And we saw that in a big way tonight as they bust out for 7 runs and 11 hits with Logan Webb on the mound for the Giants as the starter, one of the best pitchers in baseball. It was a very welcome development for the Padres after they had scored only 3 runs in their last 43 games. In terms of what Arraez and Heyward did, Arraez 1 for 3 with a single and a sacrifice fly. Heyward 2 for 4 with a double and a run scored. But beyond their performance tonight, beyond just the individual contributions, you could see, you could feel the energy change entirely around this team, the lineup, the stands, everything. After so many weeks of struggles, of bad news, of injuries, finally there was a sense of we're getting our guys back. We're getting healthy. Things are on the upswing. You could see it, you could feel it, and we saw it play out. The first inning tonight for the Padres was one of the more impressive innings they've had in really recent weeks, just given how much the offense had been struggling. We saw the Padres get back to being the offense that was so successful early in the season. That relentless offense that put everything in play, made defenses work, frustrated pitchers, and over time was able to consistently string together hits again and again and again. And with the first inning against Logan Webb, 2 outs, retires Tatis and Arraez, the Padres went back to doing what they did best. They kept it simple, they kept the line moving, and they were able to get to one of the best pitchers in baseball. And I think what was so impressive about the inning was we saw them using the whole field again. Again, there was no overswinging. There was no trying to play hero. Some of the pressing we saw happening the last few weeks, that wasn't happening anymore. You could see the relaxation. Again, the entire energy around the entire offense changed because they knew we're getting our guys back. The pressure's off a little bit. Things feel like they're on the upswing. In that first inning, Manny Machado kicks it off, opposite field single. Xander Bogart drives in the first run, back up the middle. Jose Iglesias, opposite field single. Tyler Wade, opposite field single. Again, the Padres not overswinging, just taking what the pitcher's giving them, attacking early in counts, using the whole field, and voila, you have a 3-0 lead, just stringing together hit after hit after hit. That's the best version of the Padres offense. And you go in the 4th inning too. They're up 3-0. You go into that 4th inning, and we saw the same things again and again and again, just in terms of guys using the whole field. Starts with Jason Heyward's double the other way. Again, Elliot Ramos misplays the ball. Heyward motors around to make it a double. Elias Diaz with a single the other way. Manny Machado with a single up the middle. Again, just continuing to put the ball in play and make things happen. This was the best version of the Padres offense. Go up 5-0 to get Logan Webb for 9 hits and 5 runs in 5 innings. That is extraordinarily difficult to do. Again, this is one of the best pitchers in baseball, but we've seen when the Padres are healthy, they can compete with anyone and beat anyone. Again, Jackson Merrill and Jake Cronenworth still are on the injured list. They're not 100%, but even just getting Luis Arraez back, getting Jason Heyward back, it changes the entire dynamic of the lineup. I talk about the energy. I talk about the enthusiasm, the excitement, guys not pressing as much, getting back to basics, just easy, calm, smooth swings, use the whole field, that relentless, put the ball in play, make the defense work, wear the pitcher down. You saw Logan Webb have frustration visibly on his face multiple times throughout the night, just because these weren't all hard hit balls, but you keep putting the ball in play, some balls are going to get through, and eventually it's going to add up over time. And that's exactly what the Padres did early in the season when their offense was humming along. That's exactly what they're doing again tonight. And again, the entire dynamic of the lineup changes. All of a sudden, you move Arraez into the 2-hole. That moves Sheets down into the cleanup spot. Moves Bogarts down a little further in the lineup to the 6th spot. Just guys are in their more natural spots in the lineup where they're more suited to produce in the ways the Padres need them to produce. And again, just all around a really impressive night tonight where you could see everything start to finally go their way. And this happened, keep in mind, in front of the 2nd largest crowd in Petco Park history. A Tuesday night in April. Yes, it was Tony Gwynn bobblehead night, throwback bobblehead night. That was going to bring the crowd out. But again, it's not as if the crowd shows up, gets their bobblehead and goes home, or gets their bobblehead and just kind of sits and golf claps and pays attention on their phone. It is absolutely ruckus and rowdy in Petco Park from the first inning to the last, and they're engaged. And again, it creates just the home field advantage that so few teams in baseball have. And when the team is hitting like they are and everything starts going their way, that momentum starts to pick up. So we've talked about this extensively that, again, when healthy, the Padres can compete with anyone. When not, they have the depth. They don't have the depth to necessarily compete to the level you would want to see from a playoff caliber team. But as guys are starting to get back, it's a domino effect. Again, just having Arraez and Heyward, for whatever his struggles are right now, is still a professional hitter who can give you good at bats and give you consistent defense in left field. That has an impact on the entire lineup. It has an impact on the how pitchers have to approach the lineup. It makes everyone else's life a little bit easier. There's not as much pressure. And I think one of the things that was really, really indicative of that tonight, we've talked about how much this Padres team has struggled to hit and score recently. 11 hits, their most hits in 10 days. But even more than that, 8 different players reached base tonight. And Fernando Tatis Jr. was not one of them. We have seen throughout this stretch, really throughout this season, there have been times where Fernando Tatis Jr. has had to carry the team, where he's been the only guy producing. Tonight, he went 0 for 5 with 2 strikeouts, and the rest of the team was able to pick him up. That's not something that the Padres were doing 3 days ago, 5 days ago, 7 days ago, against Houston, against Detroit, against Tampa Bay. And now we're starting to see it that, hey, your best player can have an off night and other guys are going to pick him up and down the lineup. Again, all 8 other starters reach base for the Padres. We've talked about, again, just that simple approach. Let's, keep the swings, short, direct, up through the middle of the field, attack when you get a pitch up. A lot of extra base hits the opposite way, or a lot of hits the opposite way, a lot of hits up the middle. And that brings us also to Xander Bogaerts, who I thought we were starting to see put together some of his best swings on the ball. We've talked about Xander Bogaerts having a really, really, really disheartening start to the season in a lot of ways offensively. He has not lived up to the contract he signed, the 11-year, $280 million contract, but he was still relatively productive, league average to slightly above each of the first 2 seasons. This year, it had been very, very rough, hitting in the 250s with no homers. He'd had some doubles, but it was getting worse and worse, not better and better as the season was wearing on. Tonight, he delivered in a huge, huge way, getting the scoring started with that single up the middle in the first. And again, short, direct, compact swing, shoot it back up the middle, boom, scoring has started. Had a hard line drive. I mean, hit a ball as well as you can hit it, just right at the first baseman. But again, going the opposite way. And then in the 7th, after the Giants crawled back to turn a 5-0 deficit into a 5-4 game. Again, the Giants are a good team. They're not going to go down easy. Xander Bogaerts comes up, hits his first home run of the season, pulls it into left field, just over the short wall there down the left field line. And now we've got single up the middle, hard line drive the other way, homer to left. You're seeing him make quality contact to all fields, make productive contact to all fields. And that's the best sign yet of Xander Bogaerts. Again, he'd had a really, really rough stretch. He came up big for the Padres tonight, getting the scoring started in the first, coming up with that huge home run in the 7th as insurance. If the Padres can get him going, even just a league average level, it's going to do wonders for their offense. And again, part of this is the pressure's off him a little bit. He's back down the order a little bit. All of a sudden, he's not the cleanup hitter, which I think we can acknowledge that for all his talent, what a great career he's had, his performance offensively right now is not that of a cleanup hitter on a playoff caliber team. But you get Arraez back, it shifts everyone down the lineup. Again, Sheets down the cleanup spot, moves Bogaerts down. Guys are in the better positions for them to hit. And it just has such a domino effect. And as a result, we're seeing this was the first time the Padres looked like the team that started 15-4 in quite a while offensively. And it's only going to get better as Jackson Merrill gets back healthy, Jake Cronenworth gets back healthy. But even just getting Arraez and Heyward back, when you're down 2 starters from your lineup instead of 4, it makes a world of difference. And we saw that tonight. The Padres were able to snap their losing skid, beat the first place team in the National League West, keep pace with the Dodgers and the Giants, and what is quickly shaping up to be an incredibly competitive division. This was one of the better wins they've had in recent weeks, and one that they can definitely look at and say, hey, this is a turning point for us as we move forward here through the end of April into May. We've got a lot more to talk about. Got to talk about Nick Pivetta. We also do have to talk about the roster moves that were the corresponding moves to Arraez and Heyward coming off the IL. Yuli Gurriel DFA'd, Mason McCoy placed on the injured list. We'll get to that here shortly after we hear a quick word from our sponsors.
If you want a razor that looks good, makes you look good, gets the shave done, and doesn't cost much,
Oh.
Is it nice?
That's a hairy John. And you can smell it too. Smell it, John. Smell it. Oh, wow. What
After
is that?
shave?
See, that's Harry's. That's the shave gel. I'm telling you, look. I mean,
you look scary, man.
It's the shot.
Fresh.
Now come in, get this.
I don't want to touch this head anymore. Oh, my God.
That looks like German-engineered blades made in their own factory that stay sharp longer.
I'm using the razor, and it does not – you can start to feel when it gets dull. I mean, you guys only do like here and like up here.
True.
I'm doing acreage. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
Welcome back to Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Padres defeating the Giants 7-4 and just a refreshing game. Luis Arraez, Jason Heyward coming off the IL, the offense looking like it did at the beginning of the season, as we've talked about. 11 hits, 7 runs, 9 of those hits and 5 of those runs coming off Logan Webb, one of the best pitchers in baseball. A sinker baller, you know you're not going to be able to elevate the ball against him very much. The Padres kept it simple, waited for pitches up in the zone, smooth line drive swings, used the whole field, were able to capitalize and pull out a win they really, really desperately needed to snap a 4-game losing skid. And I think the other thing beyond the offense, as we've talked about again, 8 guys reaching base, Tatis not one of them, which was refreshing because they've been overly reliant on Tatis a little bit. But on the pitching side too, Nick Pivetta has shown again and again that he's able to come out and be a stopper for the Padres and be a guy who can hold lineups down as well as anyone in baseball. He had one bad start against the Cubs, but right now he's looking like one of the signings of the offseason. Another good outing tonight. Fastball and curveball were really, really working. The curveball he dropped in the top of the zone for a strikeout was one of the dirtiest pitches I've seen all year. I think with Nick Pivetta, the biggest thing that's been just so impressive is we've seen him be the best version of himself coming over from Boston. One of the things that we've talked about a lot with Nick Pivetta is he always had plenty of stuff, and he threw strikes. His strikeout to walk ratio has always been fine, but he would have really, really bad stretches where he'd struggle to get out of them to the point he was moved to the bullpen 2 years ago. He'd have these stretches where it'd be 6, 7 great starts in a row, and then 6, 7 great starts he couldn't get out of the third or fourth inning. Just the consistency wasn't there. And the Padres definitely took a chance in saying, hey, if we get you out of Boston, put you in front of a much better defensive team, get you out of the American League East and put you in the NL West with a lot more pitcher-friendly parks, and get you with Ruben Niebla, one of the best pitching coaches in the game, if not the best pitching coach in the game. We think your talent, that swing and miss stuff and great control, is finally going to add up to a great season. Because again, from an ERA perspective, and at the end of the day, run prevention is the name of the game. You can have the best peripherals in the world, but if you're not preventing runs, it doesn't really matter. He had been objectively a below average to league average starter his whole career. Right now, we're seeing a guy that is pitching at the level of an ace, sub-2 ERA, batting average against, entering tonight was the best in the National League. And which has been so impressive is even though his final line tonight, 5 1/3, 3 runs, it's not the greatest line in the world. He pitched really, really, really well. Coming out, aside from the Willy Adames home run, keeps the Padres early lead. They're up 5-1. And then again, in the 6th inning, 2 really good hitters. Adames hits a double. Jung-Hoo Lee, who's been on fire and was my breakout pick for the year, and has certainly done that so far. RBI single. It's 5-2. Again, eventually, Jeremiah Estrada allows an inherited runner to score as well as one of his own. So Nick Pivetta's final line of 5 1/3, 3 runs allowed. It's not the most dominating line in the world, but if you really take a step back and watch what he did tonight, shutting down a really, really good Giants offense, keeping the Padres lead, getting in and out of the dugout quickly so that, again, the Giants never had a chance to build off of any kind of momentum and try to, chip away at the Padres lead. It was just a really, really impressive by Nick Pivetta, a really impressive outing by Nick Pivetta. And he deserves a lot of credit. Again, it's early in the season, but he's 5-1 with a 1.78 ERA. And aside from that one rough outing in Chicago where it was cold, it was windy, facing the best offense in baseball, he's been dominant this year. He has been one of the best signings. And give the Padres front office credit. We talk a lot about the signings that have worked and haven't worked over AJ Preller's tenure, but In recent years, they have really hit on pretty much all of their major starting pitcher signings. You look at Michael Wacha, you look at Seth Lugo, you look at Nick Martinez. None of these were guaranteed to work really well. Wacha had a lot of injuries. Lugo was a swingman. Nick Martinez was coming back over from Asia. They all worked out really well. And that also includes the Michael King acquisition and the Juan Soto trade. I think people forget Michael King was a swingman who had never made more than 9 starts in a season in the major leagues. To project him to be able to make the leap to making 32 quality starts a year, that's a big leap, but the Padres were able to help him do that. Again, Blake Snell returned to Cy Young form, Joe Musgrove taking the leap, Dylan Cease last year getting back to his best form. The Padres have really done a great job with their pitchers, whether it's been in trade, whether it's been free agent signings, the lower end signings, the higher end signings. They've done a really good job, and Nick Pivetta looks like another one. So whatever criticisms that there are about AJ Preller and his staff and some of the signings they've made, some of the trades they've made, especially since 2020, when that offseason when they acquired Snell, Darvish, and Musgrove, their big moves for starting pitchers have almost all worked. And you think you need to give them credit. Nick Pivetta really looks like another example of that. Again, we've seen him have dominant stretches of 6-7 starts in a row before and then fall off. It's still early. We need to see how he's able to keep it up through May, June, into July, August, and the dog days of summer down to the pennant run. But everything he's showing right now, it's the stuff, it's the tenacity, it's the energy. He's stomping around the mound. He's letting the other team know, I'm in control here. And it's really, really exciting. It's good to see the best version of Nick Pivetta come out, because the best version of Nick Pivetta is someone who absolutely can be a number 3 starter in a playoff rotation behind a Michael King, behind a Dylan Cease. And if he's your number 4, once Yu Darvish gets healthy, you are in great shape. So kudos to Nick Pivetta for another great outing tonight. He continues to be one of the best signings of the offseason. Again, we talked about as much money as they paid him, the draft pick they gave up, the international signing bonus money they gave up. It was a risk. But give the Padres credit for believing in him, and give Nick Pivetta a lot of credit for going out and dominating and making it look like a really, really good deal. At the end of the day, the credit goes to the player. They're the ones that have to go out and perform. Nick Pivetta is going out and performing consistently at an extraordinarily high level right now. It's great to see. The Padres are better for it. And right now, you have to look at him and say, yeah, he's the guy in a lot of ways, along with Michael King, that the Padres are in a rut. They're having a little bit of a losing streak and they need a stopper. Right now, Nick Pivetta and Michael King are the picks there. So it's just another great outing by him. Bullpen again did not relinquish a lead. Jeremiah Estrada came in, gave up the inherited runner, gave up another run. But we have seen again and again and again, this bullpen will not relinquish a lead. Audrey Morhone comes in, does his thing in the 7th. Jason Adam comes in, does his thing in the 8th. Robert Suarez comes in, just dominates in the 9th. Talk about the best closers in baseball right now. Suarez is on that list, I would say, along with Mason Miller and Andres Munoz, former Padre. What he's doing right now in Seattle is absolutely incredible. So whether he's 1, 2, or 3, this is one of the best closers in baseball. And he's got in front of him probably the best setup unit in baseball. Statistically, this is the best bullpen in baseball. And I do think this is the best 6, 7, 8 inning group in baseball as well, when you look at Estrada, Morhone, Adam, in any order, wherever you want to throw them. So again, Padres got a lead. The starter held it. The bullpen wasn't going to give it up. The offense strings together a lot of hits. This is the formula. And it was just good to see the best version of the Padres come out again, because this is the kind of baseball they were playing when they got off to a 15-4 start. We do have to address the other end of the roster moves, with Arraez and Heyward coming off the injured list today. The corresponding moves, Yuli Gurriel was designated for assignment. Mason McCoy went on the injured list. With Yuli Gurriel not making it to May with the Padres, it wasn't entirely unforeseen, but I think we have to take a step back and give him credit for the career he's had. Yuli Gurriel was one of the best hitters in the world when he was in Cuba. He's one of those players that you look back and say, man, if he had been able to be in Major League Baseball in his 20s, it would have been something special. And even though he didn't come over until his 30s, he was still a great player and one of the American League's best hitters, and a cornerstone of the Houston Astros as they won 2 championships and were competing for World Series year in and year out. I think it's important to give him credit for just what a career he's had and what a talented hitter he's been. At the same time, He's 41 years old and hasn't hit for the last 3 years. So this outcome of him really, really struggling and getting DFA'd was not an unforeseen outcome. To be honest, an outcome other than this would have been the surprise, given his age, look, we know Father Time is undefeated. It's cruel, but it's true. And just the fact he hasn't hit for 3 years. And even spring training, he did okay, had an 817 OPS, but Connor Joe outperformed him by 100 points of OPS in a larger sample size. This was just a signing that didn't make a lot of sense when the Padres made it, signing him to a minor league deal. It didn't make a lot of sense when they put him on the opening day roster. Didn't make a lot of sense giving him the roster bonus of $1.25 million when there were other better, cheaper options that were right-handed first base DH types on the market. But I think it's important to give the Padres credit that they didn't just hang on and hope against all reason that somehow it would magically turn around. They were clear-eyed about it. They saw what everyone else saw. They didn't lie to themselves and say, oh, he's close or it's coming back. It just wasn't there anymore. And that has been apparent for the last 3 years with Yuli Gurriel. It was apparent this year as well. And again, I think on the one hand, we can acknowledge that Yuli Gurriel has had a fantastic career and he deserves all the plaudits in the world for the career he's had as a hitter, while also acknowledging that he is not able anymore at age 41 to perform to a level that the Padres or any other contending team needs right now. And I do think you need to give the Padres credit for not holding on and doubling down on a mistake and just keeping him on the roster for the sake of keeping him on the roster when it was clear he wasn't going to be able to help. We see teams do that sometimes, and even the Padres have been guilty of that. We saw that with Nelson Cruz a few years ago, holding on to him through the All-Star break when it just wasn't there anymore. As, again, one of the greatest players of our generation, most home runs of any player hit in the 2010s, but he was in his 40s and just wasn't there anymore. I think being quick, being decisive, seeing what the situation on the ground is for real, and not holding on or doubling down on a mistake is a sign of a healthy front office. It's the sign of a clear-eyed organization. And at the end of the day, that's all you can really ask for. Every organization is going to make mistakes, whether it's a bad draft pick, whether it's a free agent signing that doesn't work out, whether it's a trade that doesn't work out. As long as they learn from it and make the necessary adjustments, that's all you can ask for. It's when teams double down or they insist they did everything right and hold on to the mistake or hold on to the bad processes. That's when bad things happen. And to the Padres' credit, they didn't do that in this case. Again, Yuli Gurriel, hats off, amazing career. It just was time. And the Padres, again, give them credit, understanding that trying to keep him on the roster right now and trying to, going out of their way to do so was just not the right thing to do. So all in all, the Padres have a very, very good day. They're getting their best offensive players back. They're getting their lineup back. We saw the difference tonight in just how everything was affected. You could feel it. You could see it. The energy around the team completely changed. The performance up and down the lineup completely changed. And now we'll see if they can keep it up. They have an afternoon matinee against the Giants tomorrow before heading out on a long road trip, heading to Pittsburgh and then New York for a really, really intriguing matchup against the Yankees. But first, we'll see if they can take down the Giants tomorrow night. I'll be back with another post-game edition of Friar Territory after tomorrow's afternoon game. Then we'll be back Thursday with our usual show with Heath Bell to give a progress report on everything we've seen from the Padres in April and what to watch for as they move into May. This has been another edition of Friar Territory, a special post-game edition of Friar Territory here on the Foul Territory Network. Go ahead and give us a review. Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever platform you're watching and listening on. We would love to hear from you. I'm Kyle Glaser. Thanks for watching and listening, everyone. See you tomorrow.